in 2004, when I first started getting interested in the idea of a network of UUs across the state. 2004 was the year where marriage equity was an issue in the state of Arizona. I felt like it would be a waste of a lot of energy if I had two people go down to the Capitol from our congregation to try and appeal on the issue to our legislators. So what I came up with a great idea. I thought, well, I'll get all the UUs across the state to come down together because people would be much more likely to listen to 20 or 30 people than they would to 2 or 3 of us. So I started calling the UU congregations around the state, and I couldn't find who to talk to. Some congregations had a social justice program, but it was run by the minister, and the minister was busy. A lot of congregations didn't have a social justice ministry. A lot of congregations didn't have a minister. After trying for weeks to find out who to call and who to talk to, we ended up not doing anything about the issue as a united group. And that was when, to me, this idea was born in my head. We need to find a way that we, across the state in Arizona, know how to contact each other when something's going on, know how to work together, so when an issue comes up that it's important, we can immediately respond in a united voice. And to me, it's the difference between someone singing solo and having a choir sing out their voices about an issue, because I think people are much more likely to hear the choir.
UUJAZ has 3 areas of primary focus. The first one is that we've come to call it nurturing congregations. That's where we're going to work with congregations and their justice ministries to develop them, to revitalize them, to support them as they go through their work as a congregation's ministry. The second part is that we want to connect congregations across the state. So all those justice ministries in those individual congregations have elements they can share with each other. We're going to be that network, literally that network that brings those things together, those congregations together. And finally, we recognize that if we bring our voice to the public dialogue in a more effective way, we're going to be in a position to help heal the wounds that exist in Arizona right now through our justice work. A key focus for UUJAZ is what we're calling nurturing congregations. We want to work with congregations in a way that helps build both strong internal congregations and congregations that are so strong internally that they can look externally and work on justice issues with other congregations and with other folks around the state. But we don't want to miss that first step. We want to help cultivate within the congregations those best processes, those best practices that they can use to make sure that they're healthy and strong internally. We talk to congregations across the state about what they do to make their justice ministry relevant and pertinent in the lives of their congregation members. And that helps reinforce why people go to church. That helps reinforce why they're gathering together on Sundays. Our justice work isn't outside of the congregational life. It is a vital part of it, and we need to share that with other congregations and help them develop those skills, those abilities to talk to each other in ways that are meaningful and significant. And that's what nurturing congregations from the UUJAZ perspective is really all about.
So one of the things that UUJAZ is really focusing on is trying to build more inclusive and cohesive social justice ministries. And to do that, we need to hear each other's stories. We need to be talking to each other about what experiences in our lives, what values we hold, motivate us to do justice work. And then together we can make decisions about our congregations and what we need to be working on now.
Granite Peak has a group of great members. We have a great social justice program. We felt in the past years that, like many churches, the social justice program had as many projects as you did members, all dear to their heart, all special. But we felt we needed to pull together and get centralized and have focus and have a stronger social justice program where people work together and we all have a common goal or purpose.
For years, we've been working on social justice work here at Granite Peak. It was very slow going. There were not that many people involved in it, and it seemed difficult to get people more interested in it. So when the congregation-based community organizing started going here at Granite Peak, it got a whole lot more people involved in that, and I see the numbers of people that are involved in different things has just increased a lot. And I feel like that is a really central part of Granite Peak work now.
I think a lot of our efforts as individual congregations tend to be on doing helpful things in our own communities, comforting people, that kind of effort to relieve the suffering that we see in front of us. But it tends to be localized and it tends to be small.
A second very important focus of our UUJAZ work is to connect UU members and UU congregations across the state. We do that in everything that we do. When we talk to one congregation, we take that information that we gain from them and share it with another congregation. That process right there is the network process that we do. We connect those two congregations with each other through our network. We also can help with making connections between people in our congregations. We have resources in Arizona, people resources in Arizona, who can help us, whether it's around prison action groups or reproductive justice or whatever you're going to find, education funding. We have folks in our congregations who have skills that can be shared across the state and can help us be more effective as we work towards making a change in how things are done in our state. That's the vibrancy of our network. It comes alive when we share ideas and we share people resources, and we're the connectivity that makes that happen. UUJAZ, the network, is what makes that happen.
Yes, because sometimes getting a group of even like-minded individuals together moving in one direction can be a little bit like herding cats. I know because I've tried to herd cats. It doesn't work. But helping us all to focus, just even in the room today, just each congregation identifying a particular issue of concern to them, it makes us realize, I think, that we're really all one voice.
We had UU Day at the legislature in 2013, and all of us came together, and I saw, I don't know the numbers for sure, but I think 140 of us were there from most of the congregations in Arizona. And just to have that many UUs together who were talking about exciting things like the positive social impact that we could have if we joined as a group together was very exciting to me and to the people of my congregation that attended that.
Because prison reform or prison action is so huge that networking and that larger UU community and connection is, I think, critical. It makes all the difference. And having, especially, when it comes to certain things that happen in our state, I mean, we have some of the worst reputations of prisons in the country, but when bills are coming forward or when, things that there are places we can take action in our state to be able to network with everybody who belongs to UUJAZ is just, I think it's just immeasurable.
I'm very excited about UUJAZ because it gives us as Unitarian Universalists the opportunity to come together across the state and unite the many congregations that we have so that we aren't working in isolation, we're breaking down silos and bringing our collective power to bear.
We can always stand to learn from other congregations, and in fact it was the Beacon congregation in Flagstaff that came down and did a workshop for us back in September that sort of launched our recent social justice effort.
And the other one was when UUJAZ came to the Surprise Church. And we had that, I don't know whether it was the initial meeting, I'm sure there were others, but we had 8 congregations at our church. And again, it was that sense of doing something together that was so exciting to me. And it has re-energized our social justice efforts and our committee. We heard at that meeting so many ideas that we could do together. It was fascinating to write up all of those. We sat at our tables, we wrote them all down, we posted them, and we talked about them. And what came out was that there were all of these social justice interests that we shared. Not all of us shared all of them, but most of us shared something. And again, that sense of not being out there alone, not trying to do it just on our own, was really important to me.
A third focus of UUJAZ has got to be that we're helping to heal the state through our justice efforts. I can give you an example that happened in this latest legislative session here in 2014, just a couple weeks ago in January. There's a bill proposed. It was SB 1062, and it was a refinement of the Religious Protection Act. And it said, essentially, that people could not be sued or held liable for discriminating against another person because of something that they believe strongly as a religious belief. So imagine that the impact of that proposal, that legislative proposal, could be that a gay couple could walk into a pharmacy in some city in Arizona, hand in hand, and the pharmacist could claim that because of his or her strongly held religious belief that does not accept a gay lifestyle, that they could refuse to fill their prescription. Within 24 hours, UUJAZ's policy coordinator had developed a background paper that was published on our website and emailed through our legislative alert to over 300 people. The next day we found out that the House was going to conduct a hearing on it in the Judiciary Committee. We sent out over 200 emails asking people to write letters. I know of dozens and dozens of people who wrote letters to the entire committee, the entire Judiciary Committee. This is the kind of work that we want to be ready to do, that we want to have effective ways of responding, and we want to have follow-through that makes a difference. That's what Jazz is going to be able to do.
One of the things that I would like to see UUJAZ do in this state is be our progressive liberal voice. I think far too often the voice that's heard down at the state capitol is the voice of fear, it's the voice of anger. We need someone who represents our UU values at the state level. And I think this is the group that can make sure that we get heard, that Arizona doesn't just become a state of passing laws that are reprehensible to so many of us, but that we also realize that we have a voice that needs to be heard along with the more fear-mongering voices that seem to get the most attention in the state of Arizona.
We really need a different advocacy in our state. It just seems so backward and regressive, and I feel like this is where we need to be going as a state. So our help in doing that is very important. I feel like our principles are written on our walls of our sanctuary, and that's what we say we believe in. But if we don't act on it, it's nothing.
I think collectively we might be able to actually to make a difference in the state. I'm interested in policy. This state has very regressive and oppressive public policy. I think we can make a difference. I think UU values have a place in the public policy discourse.
I heard a metaphor that I really liked the other day that I think speaks to UUJAZ's mission. And it is that you can stand downriver and you can pull person after person who has fallen in the river upstream out of the river time and time again. But one of the things that that has occurred to me about UUJAZ is that we together could go upstream and figure out why people are falling in and try to do something about that. That speaks especially to me with regard to any legislative efforts that we make, to find out the root causes of problems that we see the results of downstream and are trying to take care of there.
Unitarian Universalist faith must end up in the world. Some folks say we are people who are transformed so that we may transform the world, and I believe that.